Hi everyone, welcome to Sprinkle Some Love with a Cause by Trisha Mullin. Tonight our guest is Summer. She is a GP survivor and fighter, which is GP means gastroparesis for those of you who don't know. Hello Summer, how are you tonight?
Hi Trisha, I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Had a long day.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I hope it was a good day at least.
Yes. So I kind of want to let the audience know a little bit about you, but I want to start off, of course, at where you first noticed your body is like different than everyone and that things aren't working the way that they should be.
Okay. Well, oh boy.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Okay. So, I'll tell you everything. Let me just think back.
Yeah, so start off at first, like
Okay,
before you got your
so
diagnosis.
when I first got diagnosed, it was 2016. I was admitted in the hospital at the time because I was having a flare up, but I didn't know what gastroparesis even was at the time, to even know it was a disease.
Okay.
Um, I got an endoscopy done, and it showed undigested rotting food in my stomach. So they were like, yeah, you have severe gastroparesis. And I'm like, oh my God, what is that? And I did some Googling, and which is probably the worst thing to do when you're sick, but
Yeah, but what
I
else do we
did
have as
some,
an option? Because it's not like the doctors are going
yeah,
to sit us down and break it down.
right, exactly. And he acted like it wasn't a big deal, so I wasn't too concerned.
Right,
But when I,
nonchalantly about it, like, oh, it's gonna be
yeah,
okay. So, how did you get your
exactly.
your diagnosis right away? You just went in with some belly aches at the urgent care, and they were like, did a bunch of stuff, or like,
Well,
I know you said you
um,
had the endoscopy, but what led you to actually for them to want to do that?
because prior to the endoscopy, I was extremely ill to the point where if I even tried to take a tiny bite of anything or drink water, I just get sick. And I was losing weight drastically. I think at the time I was at a healthy 120, and by 2017 I was down to 62 pounds.
Okay.
And the doctor, after I tried to find some doctors that knew about gastroparesis, because I didn't even know where to start, I ended up going to University of Michigan, and they set up a test, which is the sure way to get diagnosed, and it's
Mm-hmm.
called a gastric empty study.
Okay.
And so I did that, in short description, gastric empty studies where you eat eggs or toast or something that has
Yeah,
a
it's a
little bit of
radioactive.
radioactive,
Yeah,
yeah,
radioactive
radioactive
egg.
dye, and it tracks how long it takes to digest throughout your system. So I did that, and I couldn't eat all of it, but I tried to eat as much as I could. Luckily, I ate enough to do the test. Um, it showed that my retention rate after 4 hours was 62%,
Oh Lord.
and over 30% severe.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh boy, I don't know what this means. Um, I couldn't find a doctor for a long time that could even give me an exact explanation on what the disease even was.
Okay.
It was until I started joining support groups on Facebook that really helped jet set what I was able to do, what my options were.
Right, and give you a whole broader point of what this disease is and vision of what's entail possibly if we don't do A, B, or C.
Exactly.
Yes, I definitely agree with you. So how old are you?
I just turned 25 on the 25th.
Okay, so how old were you around the time when you got diagnosed, around 2016 and 17?
20 or 20.
You were just
No.
about to turn around
No,
20,
I was
guesstimate?
18.
18? Okay.
I think I was 18 or 19.
So at that
But
time, you're
I
freshly getting out
had
of high school, and you're also transitioning in life as a young woman to an
It was
adult.
after I graduated. It was a year after I graduated.
Okay.
So I had to be 18 or 19.
Oh.
I've been symptomatic most of my life, though.
And would you describe a little bit
Yeah.
about what that was like for you?
Like, as a baby, I would throw up a lot, apparently. My dad and mom had issues with trying to feed me, and as a kid, I never ate much, and I was a very picky eater. People would make fun and say that I ate like a bird and stuff. And,
you have my childhood. You just described it, literally.
Yeah, exactly.
To the T.
And so, I mean, it was really bad to the point when I was a kid to where my dad used to have to force feed me. And I just was diagnosed after that with an eating disorder, but I knew that wasn't the case.
Right.
Because I wanted to eat, I just couldn't eat.
Was it physically hurt and vomiting and like just the whole 9 yards?
I was so nauseous my whole life as a kid, and up until now, I've always been really nauseous.
Okay. So after getting your diagnosis, as you said, it took you quite some time to find a good doctor. When you did find a good doctor, what changed for you? What was the treatment options that were presented to you, and what did you choose?
Well, it was kind of an emergency type of deal because I was losing so much weight so quickly. Like I said, I was getting down to, before I saw a GI, I got down to 72 pounds. And then after that, I lost more weight as I was going to doctors, and I told them that I was down to 63 pounds. And they were very, very nervous. They were telling me that I only had a month to live if I didn't get help now. And I was put on hospice and palliative care for a couple months. So I honestly didn't think there were any options for me.
Okay.
But once I found my first doctor at U of M that knew what GP was, she admitted me for a trial nasal gastric tube. But getting that done in the hospital was so traumatic, and it failed 3 times that they tried to do it. So they had to put in a surgical GJ tube immediately because it was an emergency at that point.
Yes, you're obviously malnutrition.
So the GJ feeding tube overall saved my life.
And how long did you have that, or do you still?
I'm sorry, you broke up.
I said, how long did you have that, or do you still have that?
Oh, I've had a feeding tube now for 5 years, and I still have it. Currently, I have a GJ tube. Usually I have just a straight jejunal tube. I don't really need a feeding tube at this point, but I'm having issues trying to find a doctor that will remove it because they don't want me to get sick again and be without a backup.
How much do you weigh now?
Right now, last time I weighed myself, I was 135.
Okay. And since you got the tube, have you received any more surgeries? Or I know you were recently in the hospital. I kind of wanted to touch bases a little bit on that and what's currently going on with you.
Since I got my tube, I probably have had more surgeries than I've ever had in my life.
So let's break those down. How many would you say you had, and which ones did you have?
honest number of surgeries I've had since I've got my tube placed?
A guesstimate.
At least 150.
Oh my God. I thought I had a lot. You've got me beat.
I mean, yeah, I'm not even over exaggerating.
No, I fully believe you. Like no lie.
Maybe 120 to 150 area.
So, what did they have to do all those times? Like, what were they repeating?
The most of the time, it was either a feeding tube revision or a feeding tube change, or they wanted to change out my tube for a new one. But the other times was like exploratory surgery for endometriosis.
Oh, I'm an endometriosis fighter as well. So definitely I would like to discuss some of those. Those actually were where most of mine were for like the laparoscopy. Have you ever had a Da Vinci?
No, I have not.
Okay. So let's talk about your endometriosis. What stages and like what happened for you?
I'm at stage 3, and while I don't suffer absolutely horribly every day from it, luckily, I do have a lot of pelvic pain a couple times a week, but when my period hits, it's like the world's ending. It's absolutely awful to the point where I can be hospitalized.
Do you have adenomyosis as well?
I do not know what that is.
Okay. Well, endometriosis is one version. Endometriosis is like where it's like the internal bleeding, and then adenomyosis is a sisterly disease, but it actually creates these spider web tissues between the organs, and it pulls. So it's more severe. It's sisterly to endo, and after a certain stage, depending on what other conditions like GP and other autoimmune diseases you have, adenomyosis may come forth, and it's actually more of what you're describing, which is more severe. And
I probably do have
you should definitely look into that because honestly, do you have children?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay, well, honestly, a hysterectomy, I was lucky enough to have 2. I have a boy and a girl, so I was able to finally get a hysterectomy, but it took years of me screaming and crying even after I had my kids because of the age. It was more or less, they wanted me to be basically 30 with one of both kids, but I had both kids before I was 21, so I was able to, I felt, have a hysterectomy, like I should have qualified. But no, they put me through all those treatments and all these surgeries to only in the end still rip it out. So if we were just going to rip it all out, why put me through all of that? Well, just in case I wanted to have more kids. Well, I obviously knew I didn't want more. I had 2, and at that age, 2 was hard enough financially and physically. As many as I would love to have 100 kids, they're all great, but financially and physically raising them and taking care of them is a whole nother, 2 is all I can handle.
Oh, yeah.
So, it took me years before I could get... Yeah, it took years before I could get the hysterectomy, but the hysterectomy helped. And as far as the bleeding went, I had like an ablation where they laser off the inside of the uterus wall so you don't get no more periods instead, like while waiting for a hysterectomy, but then you still can't have kids because there's no period.
I've heard of those.
But you could have a surgery later because you still have like the stuff, you just don't have a period.
If it's I don't know if it's your Wi-Fi or mine, but you're breaking up pretty bad.
Okay, here. Is that better? Can you hear me now?
It might be.
There you go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's better.
So basically, if you did the ablation, you wouldn't have a period anymore, which would help with the endometriosis. But you would still have all your female organs. So, like, if you wanted to have a surgery in the future to actually have a baby with your own uterus, you just actually have a surgery to put the sperm in the egg.
Oh, wow.
Like an artificial insemination, basically, but you're using your husband's sperm, and you could still have a kid, but it would slow down the years of adenomyosis with endo. But unless you remove the uterus, will those diseases ever get better? There's no cure. And that's the harsh reality that it took many years for me to come to. But for years, I would be like on the floor, like what you're describing, in like excruciating pain in the hospitals. You know what did save me though, other than at the time I would say Narcos helped, and Vicodin helped an awful lot. But when I quit taking those, I turned to a rice sack, literally white rice. You put it in a sack, you put it in the microwave for 2 minutes, and it got so hot that it would burn my nerves inside. It would feel good. It would be like a good burn. And it would burn the nerve to where it stopped the pain. And instead of taking an opiate, I would use my rice sack, and I would use cannabis at times, and that's how I was able to no longer use the opiates whenever I had a period. But yeah, I definitely know your struggle on those. But go back to your endometriosis and the GP, and how did those collide together? How was it dealing with both? Because you obviously are already in pain because of the tubes and the surgeries and everything else. So that has to be, quite different, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, let me add to the cannabis.
Okay.
That is one of the main reasons I think I'm still here also, because I didn't start smoking until I got sick, and it's the only thing that I have to this day that relieves my nausea on the site.
Correct.
And I'm very, very grateful for it. But anyways.
I'm so pro cannabis, and I feel the same way because I got down to 75 pounds as well. And I am a firm believer in, if you don't use it, you lose it. And if you substitute it with like a fake or an alternative that's not the real option, then you still lose the real option because the substitute becomes the primary source. So I was scared so I was scared for the feeding tube, because it's like, once you get it, getting it back out or getting it off or going back to original, what your body's supposed to do, is going to be very hard, scientifically, physically, medically, and everything. So when they were trying to force the feeding tube on me at 75 pounds, I wouldn't take it. That's when I really turned to cannabis on like a heavier note, and I was like, let me try edibles, let me try wax, let me try, like, what forms of THC can I try to make this, like, not get the feeding tube? And before I knew it, the munchie effect was working. I wasn't in as much pain, and my rice sack was always trusty and handy, and it would help, like, the GP pain as well. And then over time, I just realized that instead of eating, like, 4 big meals a day or 3 meals a day, the munchies made me gain weight, and that's kind of like how I survived as well. And I realized, like, every time I drive so much, like with the kids to school or my husband to work or this or that, or picking up a friend, so I always started packing a bag of snacks in the car, and every time I would smoke before I leave, so I'm in the car, I get the munchies, and I'd just be driving and eating. And the next thing I know, I gained all this weight back that I had lost, and I was so focused on losing it. I was so focused on losing the weight that I think that was also part of the stress, that when I quit focusing on it and I just smoked and didn't, like, think about all the problems, that it actually got better in time as well. Like, it was kind of went hand in hand.
Yeah. Definitely helped me with my appetite being stimulated, and it helped me eat as well. It still does, but I did notice that after a couple years, if you are a chronic smoker, then that a lot of those effects do wear off. But at the end of the day, it's the only thing that helps me.
No, I agree. And So let's bring into another topic at this moment. So prescription
Yeah.
medication wise, they had me on like a duffel bag of meds. I was able to change them out and slowly get off pharmaceuticals for the most part, and go to cannabis. Was that a similar situation for you?
Oh, okay. Well, that's amazing. I have replaced a lot of my medications as well with cannabis, but at this point of my life, I still unfortunately need medication
No, of course, there's
because
still
it's
some.
just
There's always going to be some.
I'm
Those,
sorry.
of course, there's still going to be some. Like, there's always going to be a few. But were you able to downsize like the amount of daily pills that you have to take every day now, or like the
Oh,
amount of
yeah.
prescriptions? So, like before, let's say I had 40 prescriptions. Now I might have like five.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was taking probably about I'd say about 20 different medications a day,
Okay.
and now I only take 3.
Oh,
So it's like
that's a
it's
big.
a
That's a
it's like
big.
night and day.
Oh yeah, definitely. See, and that's what I love to hear because I am so pro cannabis. I feel that there are so many, our body has these receptors that are for cannabis and they're there. And I'm not like, your body has it for a reason. What those reasons scientifically are, we have yet to fully figure out. But our body has receptors. They don't have receptors for opiates. They don't have receptors for all these other forms of pain meds, but they actually have receptors for the CBD and THC. So I totally feel like there's a medical reason that our body has that, and that's part of
Oh
what
yeah.
has helped cure me over the years, with most of my diseases. Not fully cure, but a big enough band aid that I see a life, the daily living, like the way that I live has changed, and the conditions I live have changed. From
Right.
vomiting 10 times to 100 times a day to maybe just morning sicknesses until I smoke and get everything together. Or sometimes in the middle of the night sickness, if if I ate something today that like messed my stomach up in the middle of the night, it's gonna come up. But
Yeah.
other than that, like it's not like it was, like 100 times every time you put something to your mouth, you have to vomit next.
Oh yeah. It's a struggle. It's like I tell people it's like a game of Russian roulette.
So, what recently landed you in the hospital currently? Like, let's go to that.
Well, I have this issue with my body now to where it's rejecting my feeding tube for some reason. My tube came out of my intestine into my esophagus, and I had to go to the hospital and be admitted because they needed to do surgery to replace the tube. Uh, it was pretty bad. It happens mostly when I throw up. Every single time I throw up, just about my tube comes out of place. It's awful.
Have
So I'm
you,
looking at a surgery at least a month, every month.
and how long is the recovery for that?
For the average person, recovery after surgery for a tube, it's probably a week, but for me, it's about a day.
Okay. So, my next question would be, you wanted it removed and not there. Are you able to eat regularly and maintain without?
Yes, currently now I am, and I think that's a huge, huge thank you to my gastric stimulator I had placed. I'll go more into that, but I have not tube fed in 2.5 years, and the reason why I quit tube feeding was because my intestines stopped tolerating it. I was getting really sick and in a lot of pain every time I tube feed.
Well, if your body
So,
is using the original method, which you're eating orally and you're able to digest and then produce the bathroom 1 and 2, then you're doing pretty good. So your body would obviously look at the feeding tube now as a foreign object and a foreign entity,
exactly,
and start to reject it because your body is trying to heal, but it seems like your doctor is kind of
every doctor I've talked to
is cock blocking. It sounds like in some form of another. Forgive my language or French. But yeah, so where are you at in Michigan? I seen you were in Michigan, I thought.
Yep, I live about 20 minutes from Detroit. I'm in Downriver.
Girl, oh my lord, I might have the doctor for you. Dr. Rosansky. Really? Okay. He has 2 offices, one in Madison Heights, which is like 15 minutes north of Detroit. And he has an office out here in Pontiac, which is like 45 minutes north from Detroit. You could take Woodward straight up. One's at 11 Mile and DeQuinder area, or 12 Mile and DeQuinder area. And the other one's at POH Hospital or McLaren Hospital, whatever you know it as. He has an office there. And he just may remove it if he doesn't feel you need it. He is a great doctor, and he is also an internal medicine doctor. He's like several different doctors in one. He's awesome. He's my doctor and my daughter's doctor. And like he won't do what doesn't, like he won't, if your body wants to work, he'll let your body work. Just put it that way. I would definitely give him a call and just do a consultation with him and see if he's interested in taking on your case possibly after the consultation, or if he feels he can help, or you feel like you like his, these are the things I would ask when I go. Like, if you had my case and I was to come to you, what would your treatment plan look like, and what do you feel you could do for me as my doctor? Because patients often forget that when you're going to a doctor, you're hiring these doctors. You can hire them and fire them whenever you choose. So if you feel like
absolutely
right, this doctor's not for you, don't fire their doctor until you find another one that you do like. But then, go get second or third opinions. And at this point, why are we doing surgeries on somebody with a feeding tube who isn't even using it? Like, what? And her body is rejecting it. She's not using it. Like, if we want to do a surgery to put it back in, like, I mean, we're already doing them every month. Fine, in a couple months, do another one, put it back. If it rejects, what I'm saying. Like, I'm not understanding. Other than the dollar, dollars don't make sense if you're not the one making them. So I think that the money is going to them, and that's why it doesn't make sense to you. Because financially, as long as I do this every month, I'll have a boathouse, and in 6 months, I'll have a new condo. My wife will have that Porsche. Yeah.
Girl, you are speaking facts. For real.
Yeah, so
it's all about money at this point. They don't care about people's actual lives, and it's
Dr. Rosansky is not like that, definitely. But he also is not so much of a cannabis lover. I learned that. But he is okay with my cannabis use, and he agrees with me because my body has accepted it. So for me, he is okay. But when patients first come in, he's okay with it, but he just wants patients to understand that there's also, there's this new disease that he recently just tested me for at my last endoscopy that has to do, he was trying to relate it to marijuana, but he was basically saying something with our nerves are either your receptors basically either accept it or they reject it. So sometimes when those receptors are rejecting it, it looks like GP flare, but it's actually like your body, your nerves have too much marijuana. So he was just trying to like see how that works or something. I don't know how to properly word.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because I don't want to say something that isn't truthfully correct, but basically he was.
I can see how doctors would definitely say that though.
Yeah, he was just trying to figure out because there's there's this test though that you literally do during the endoscopy, and it's either comes back positive or negative, and either your receptors are recepting or not recepting. So my receptors, he said everything was good, it was recepting, everything was good, and I was okay. So just keep on doing what I'm doing.
Good.
So I got the approval from him, like the golden cap now, and I no longer do most of the GP medications now. and honestly, after I turned down all of the surgery. So my mother-in-law has GP as well, and she got the feeding tube through the same doctor, and we were going through it kind of at the same time. And I kept thinking, how can I take care of her with a feeding tube and myself with a feeding tube? Like, no. So,
Right.
when I look back, I really am thankful that I didn't get it, but at the same time, I'm only thankful because of the pot. Like, had I not found pot, I would have probably made a horrible decision and would have crashed and landed and burned and, like, had been an emergency situation as well.
Yeah, I definitely did not want to go down this route. I didn't expect that my life would ever turn out like this. I never thought that I would ever have to rely on a tube to sustain.
Right.
It's kind of ironic because when I was a kid, like I said, I didn't eat a lot. My grandma used to say, she used to try to scare me into eating and say, "Oh, you're gonna get a feeding tube if you don't eat." Yeah, well, look what happened anyways.
Right.
But
And what happens actually? Like, I feel like when parents say things, we don't realize the bigger extent, but you're putting that thought in their brain, so their body automatically starts to think, well, that's what they're going to need because that's what their brain is constantly hearing.
yeah, I absolutely am grateful that I had the opportunity to get a surgical feeding tube because, like I said, at that point I was on hospice for a month. I didn't have much longer.
It definitely saved your life. And now at this point, you're looking to move forward to see what's next. Like, your body's rejecting
Exactly.
it. You're grateful you
And
had
it's
it. You're in a limbo situation. And so if you could get the vomiting in control, do you think that they would maybe approve if you didn't change doctors? Because maybe the vomiting is what's rejecting the tube, but if the tube's not being used at all, I'm not
well,
understanding why leave it. Like,
I
medically,
do I do use my tube daily. I use it for hydration and I use it for medication.
okay.
But my I mean, what was I going to say? Sorry,
It's okay.
brain
So if you
fog.
use your tube for hydration, is there a way that you could, if you were to replace and get rid of the tube, how would you stay hydrated? And
Oh
how would
yeah.
you digest pills or medications or
Well, I am clueless on how I'm going to be able to take medication. I'm nervous for that part.
what about an IV or
But
a PIC line?
I had a PIC line, I've had a port, and I had a Hickman. But I'm not able to get those anymore because I went septic in November.
Okay.
And I had to get emergency surgery at U of M, and it
So
was just a mess.
so
So they
that
don't want to give
sounds
me another port.
yeah, that sounds like the reason why they're leaving the tube right now because the tube is acting as one of those other methods currently.
Yeah.
So you are using it daily to a percentage. It's just not the same way that everybody else probably would use it, but it's what works best
Right.
for you currently.
But my vomiting is drastically decreased from when I like I said, my gastric stimulator is the reason why I don't throw up as much anymore. It has helped my symptoms probably about 50-60%.
Can you hold Gatorade and things like that down? Have you tried to figure out a way to see if you can get hydrated orally and figure out a way to slowly wing off of, or maybe try oral medications and see if they could do a couple months where they switch like orally instead of through the tube and see how your body holds?
Yeah.
And if you tolerate, because I think that you should definitely figure out before you determine whether you should get rid of it, you should determine whether you can tolerate it doing what it does for you on your own. And if you can't, then you obviously need it. So I wouldn't get rid of it. But if you're able to tolerate and break down medications and you're able to tolerate to get hydrated on your own in whatever forms you choose, then I could see possibly a doctor approving the tube, even your own. But until you're able to do those things on your own, I would definitely not, because if you don't stay hydrated, you're going to have so many other issues from,
Oh, yeah.
and they're going to be back at square one again. And that's the
Well,
whole thing they're trying to prevent. I kind of see their logic in it, but I also see the suffering you're going through just to have it. And if we could just get it orally done, if you're able to do things orally, there's no better time, to try it than when the patient's ready. Like,
oh, yeah. Well, I know for a fact I can sustain and be well, not healthy, but I can live without my tube. I know that. Like, I'm very hydrated, or as hydrated as I can be. All I do is drink water constantly. I don't drink anything else. I keep it down. There's just, honestly, now I think I vomit probably 6 to 8 times a month
okay.
compared to 30 times a day.
Oh yeah,
So,
that's a big difference. Like a 90% change.
yeah, it's it's honestly amazing. It's
Yes.
hard to believe, but yeah, I can keep down a lot of stuff better because, for one, portion controls everything. Uh,
Definitely.
Two, knowing what you're putting in your body before you do it and how much of it to put in. Like, when I eat, I don't eat very much of anything. I pick at stuff and then I'll save it for like the next day and I'll pick at it again. Like,
Okay.
I don't eat a lot, but I can eat whatever I want. I That's probably not true, honestly. I probably shouldn't eat some of the stuff that I do eat, but after dealing with this disease for as long as I have, I kind of say F it. I want to live my life and be able to eat the food that I enjoy. So I just kind of deal with what comes next. But a lot of the time now, I I don't eat a lot. Like, me and my boyfriend go out to eat. We go out to eat like every weekend. It's just what we like to do for like a date night. And I feel really bad a lot of the times because I don't eat, and I'll get food and it'll just sit there and I won't eat it, but he doesn't ever make me feel bad about it ever. He's very understanding, and he knows that most of the time I'll just take it home and I'll eat on it when I get home, or I'll save it. And it's just like, you just have to be smart. That's really all it is. You have to learn your body and what it's telling you to do. You
True.
can't play games with it.
And I also learned a lot about the vitamins that our body need. I learned a lot about B12 and like the values that it has for your gut health. And I definitely realized I did exactly what you're doing over the years, just started eating and just take small portions and taking the consequences as they came and enjoying what I love. And
Yeah.
over time I did realize, though, somewhere along the way I picked up a B12 deficiency that I had never had. And the B12 deficiency, after I went septic, my as well, from another issue from a surgery that had gone wrong.
Oh,
The septic kills certain like levels in your stomach that you don't realize, and later it's hard to just get those right back. You can't just hop back on the horse and go. And
right.
B12 was one of the things that later I did have to start taking a supplement for, and that helped a lot and changed a lot and helped my levels of vomiting, helped my memory, helped my headaches, helped my the cramps and stomach pains I was having. I didn't realize how
Wow.
vital B12 was. And then I also, over the years, from the endometriosis and adenomyosis, I would get I don't know if you ever did like the Zoladex or Lupron injections and hormone therapy and adiabatic therapy and replacement
No.
therapy, or well, I did all of those good things and it ruined my bones, and I ended up with like a vitamin D3 deficiency. And the D3 is really important even with your gut health as well later when it like, and I didn't realize how important the bones and gut are together. And like with the calcium deficiency, because it developed osteoporosis later from the medications and treatments that they gave. Some of
Yeah.
these treatments aren't meant for long term, but without a cure to a disease, you're left with long term treatment, whether it's meant to be long term or not. It's all we have. So it's kind of like, here, take it, and this is what we're going to do is repeat services,
Right.
which we're not supposed to. But in the long run, your body has the wear and tear from those actions. So I definitely think that you should look more into like the vitamins and stuff, because eating what you want is great, but then you're also not getting the full pyramid of food every day that
Yeah,
certain.
I try vitamins.
Oh,
I
I can't.
can't do
No,
them
I can't do
though.
them either. But I later got into the old lady thing, which they have these awesome pills that dissolve under your tongue for old ladies that like can't chew or swallow pills and stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And I always get the dissolvable ones because they dissolve under your tongue, and then I can do them because they're dissolved already. I can't digest them with the GP for some reason, no matter what the pills are. So that helped dramatically, is finding certain vitamins, or finding how they sell different beverages that just contain extra vitamins, paying attention to
Yeah.
those and making sure that I change my drink to like the Body Armors have a lot of different good vitamins in them, and I'll look specifically for like the B12 ones, or when my potassium's low, I'll look for potassium ones, or just learning those vitamins and what your body's trying to tell you vitamin wise on top of your disease. I kind of used the vitamins to help manage my disease a lot now, because I realized the vitamins are like the jump start, and once they're all bad and depleted, then a flare automatically starts. So if I get my vitamins in order, I get ahead of a flare, and then I kind of control when I have a flare or not.
Okay. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I
so
should definitely look into that.
yeah, you should definitely look
But
into the vitamins, because at your age, and with endometriosis, your hormones break down a lot of the break down the vitamins after they're made and created in your body. And with endometriosis, you can't break down some of those vitamins either. So there goes a whole month where they're producing, but they're not breaking down or getting used, or a whole week, I mean. And then the other 3 weeks out of the month, you've got your other issues going on. So it's hard for your body probably to digest and absorb all the vitamins, which is where the malnutrition comes into play, and dehydration. So if they're giving you stuff for
exactly.
the dehydration, why aren't they also giving you vitamins for the nutrition? That's my next question. Normally those vitamins would be in the feeding tube stuff, but you're not getting a feeding tube, you're on a regular diet. But your regular diet, no matter with GP, no matter how many times you ate a day, you're not going to be able to consume the normal person's amount of dietary meals, which is 3 meals and 3 snacks and da da da. Like, we can't eat all of that. That's like, you feel me? So the
Yeah.
amount of vitamins and milligrams that you're supposed to take per day are never going to maximize the potential. Like, your body's not going to get that potential. So if you upped your vitamins, somehow
Just that energy.
your nutrition would balance, you know what I mean, like it out. I would look into that more. They also do have like these different kinds of Gatorades that help for like the dehydration, and different vitamin ones and mineral ones. Gatorade's really upped their game for GP patients, for sure.
Yeah, I don't really. I like antioxidant drinks a lot. I drink a lot of
Ooh,
those.
I like those too,
But
actually.
I did used to get a lot of vitamins through my feeding tube when I was getting those formulas. They had every single thing that you needed and more. It was a lot. But now I for some reason just cannot take vitamins, and my doctors won't prescribe me liquid vitamins or anything to put through my tube. So I probably have to figure it out. Maybe I can get like a gummy vitamin and try that.
Oh
But
yeah, I would. The gummy ones are awesome. That if you can
yeah,
handle gummies, because like I can handle gummies. I was actually just was eating gummy bears while we were talking. If you can handle gummies, I would just do one woman's a day gummy if you can find those, or a multivitamin gummy, just a one a day multiple vitamin. Nothing too fancy, just the average stuff that each person needs a day, because basically, let's just say you didn't eat healthy today or you just had one meal today. The multiple vitamins are basically the same equivalent of what the healthy meals per, if you ate 3 meals a day would be. And obviously, there's not a single day that you're going to be able to ever eat the equivalent, you know what I mean, of a healthy meal 3 times a day, and those amount of snacks that they say we're supposed to have. And our breakfasts aren't gourmet breakfasts nowadays. Grandmas ain't in the kitchen before we go to school or whatever, work, and making sausage, eggs, cheese, like, the whole shebang that they have for breakfast and lunch. Like, we ain't getting gourmet meals. If we get, we're
my
lucky.
Gourmet meals is cereal, and I'm fine with that, honestly.
Right, but the vitamins and minerals now, there's no protein in that. There's no this, there's no that now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at the hospital, you see how they bring you, like, these fabulous is like the breakfast has orange juice, it has eggs, it has a yogurt, it has a banana. Like, those are they're trying to make sure you're getting all your pyramid. That literally, I realized food is our nutrition and our vitamins, and if we're not able to eat all of the food or eat it, like, why are they not replacing it? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they're setting us up for failure by not doing it. Because when you do it, you can see the big difference. Like you said, they were doing it, and then obviously when your body gets to a certain level, like with potassium and certain things, you can't have a lot of. So they obviously need to know what your levels are. Like, I know, like, my doctors were doing blood tests. That's how I knew how many milligrams of what to take. Like, at one point in time, I was on 200,000 IUs a day of vitamin D3. Then it went all the way down to 2,000. From 200,000 to 2,000.
Wow.
Like, that's how depleted they were. And when your vitamins are that depleted, it's kind of like starting a war without any tools or battle, like anything to actually battle. You know what I mean? You don't have the proper tools. You're already.
It's definitely in my future to be thinking about that, because I just got a whole bunch of blood work ordered from my primary, and I'm gonna get all that looked at and see what I need and stuff, and she'll figure it out. She's a good doctor.
Definitely. I always ask for my vitamins and my hormone panels whenever we're running blood work, because your hormones and your vitamins run your body. Like, those two are the two things that ravish war on your body, or they end the war on your body. And if you don't have them up to par before starting any medical battle, you're already got your foot halfway out the game. Like, you're not gonna have a running start. And it took me 30 years to realize that. Like, a long time. So, I just feel like there's so many doctors that are treating GP, but they're not actually treating GP. They're just working by the book, and each patient that comes through the door is the same order of operation, the same treatment plans, the same, but the diagnosis and how we get it and how our bodies receive it and accept it are completely different. There hasn't really been 2 cases the same, but yet the treatment plans and the medications are all the same.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, medication-wise for stomachs, I cannot take Reglan. I don't know if you took that.
No, Reglan is in the black box. You are not, like, I don't even understand why they're prescribing Reglan when it's in the black box. It specifically is in that box of medications that we deem do not prescribe unless absolutely necessary. And when they give it to patients, they don't even explain anything about this or that. They don't explain the true side effects, like the paralyzation in the body, the paralyzation in the face. So what was your side effects on Reglan? Let's hear that.
Oh my gosh, it triggered tardive dyskinesia in me, and now I have it still. And I haven't took Reglan in like 5 years.
Well, I'm medically smart, and that's new to me. What the heck is that? Break it down, girl.
It's TD is uncontrollable muscle movements.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
So it's that feeling you know that feeling
Yep.
when your skin's crawling and you're gonna like jump out of it if you don't move, and it's just awful.
Yeah, so I was getting symptoms like that on the medication, but mine did not stay. Like where your face is twitching, but you don't have the control of it, and you can feel it and see it, but you can't make it stop, or like
I still have it in my face a little bit.
Yeah.
Like sometimes my lips will twitch, and it's really annoying. I can
the
feel
benefits
it.
for that medication to me are not worth it for GP patients unless you're
No.
actually in hospice and like you're like, let me try that to get out of this situation. But furthermore than that, if I didn't already have one foot in with hospice, I wouldn't be trying no Reglan. After hearing and knowing the side effects and going through my own experience, and every person that has literally been on the show, there's been like 2 or 3 people that actually said it worked, but when they did it, they were at you know how you have the more severe cases where the stimulators are rejecting your body and the stimulators are not working. No matter what number they twerk the stimulator to, the stimulator just isn't stimulating for you.
And stimulator definitely does not work on everyone. I am one of the few lucky ones.
Yes, well, the ones that it doesn't work on, I've noticed Reglan does. And it's kind of like Reglan doesn't work on the ones the stimulator works for, from what I've noticed. This is just my personal data of what I've accumulated, and the people that don't work, the feed into the stimulator doesn't work at all on those people. Reglan is like magic, and they are loving Reglan, and it's working, and they're giving great reviews and fabulous thoughts. And the only people that are enjoying the benefits of Reglan are the ones that have done all else, and all else has failed. From stimulators to feed-in tubes to
Reglan really helped my mother at one point, but she doesn't have gastroparesis. She's diabetic, and they thought she had gastroparesis before she got diagnosed with diabetes, and they put her on Reglan, and it helped her quite a bit. I was really surprised. I was like, how can you take that? Oh my God, my skin's itching just looking at it.
My skin's itching.
Like, no.
Right. But also your grandma is older and the hormones are different, and hormones got a lot to do with how you break down everything and how your body accepts or receives everything, So I definitely could see why it might work for the elder versus the young, because of that hormone differentiation from menopause to non-menopausal.
Yeah.
So, what other experiences did you have with any of the GP medications where your body just said, no, this isn't going to work for you?
Oh gosh, what medications? Well, one of the medications that did work for my physical symptoms but made me like ruin my life were benzodiazepines. Those are a huge no-no now. Let's see, Reglan, Benadryl.
Okay.
But IV Benadryl is fine, but if I take it in tablet form, it makes my skin crawl. I struggle with that with a lot of medications now ever since I got TD.
Okay. That's something to look into.
Yeah,
I'm definitely
but there's
interested
not
in that.
really many medications that I just absolutely cannot take. Like, all the nausea meds, I can take any nausea medication. It's just, they don't work.
Nope. None of them really worked either for me. Like Zofran doesn't do anything. I feel like they make me more vomity than non-vomity. Like they cause me to be more nauseous than what I was previously.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So have you been affected by anxiety or depression during these trials and tribulations?
Oh gosh, girl.
I'm sure.
That's a light way to put it. Yeah, this whole journey has been very emotionally exhausting, to say the least. I struggle terribly to this day with depression, anxiety, body dysmorphia. I have really, really bad issues with trying to accept my life for how it is compared to how it used to be or where I'm at versus everyone else. Like, I struggle very, very bad mentally.
So if you could
Definitely more mentally than physically.
if you could give a few positive tips that you have picked up along the way that has helped you to the the audience, what would those tips be? What would you say you've done that has really helped you try to overcome some of those?
Like mental or physical?
Either or, whatever first came to
Okay.
mind.
Well, first thing is first, you always listen to your body and what it's telling you. You always treat your body like it's your home. Don't put anything in it that you wouldn't want in your house. Talk, communicate with your loved ones or your friends as much as you can. Communication is very, very big with this disease, especially with mental issues. It's terrible to bottle all that in because it weighs quickly. And don't underestimate your body and its capabilities. When you feel like everything's going the worst that it can be, your body can do amazing things.
I like that. I definitely do. As far as your relationship, would you say that your significant other is supportive of these battles?
Honestly, Trisha, I could not ask for a better boyfriend. Like, my boyfriend is probably the best person I know. Yeah, he's extremely supportive. He's tries to be as understanding as possible, and he never makes me feel bad for how I'm feeling.
Okay.
And yeah, I love him very much. He's a big part of my healing journey.
I like hearing that because people that have a positive significant other that supports their journey and their battle and their fight, they definitely end up becoming stronger individuals because that's a whole another stress when they don't, that you don't have to bear, be burdened with, because they support you when they understand, and that makes the disease itself can sense those bad vibes and bad relationships. So it's always good to be in a healthy, good in relationship, and it's definitely good when they support your disease and battle. That's part of that's a healthy relationship. So I'm happy to hear.
Oh yeah, if I'm in the hospital, he sees me every day at least as long as he can.
See, that's
and
good.
When I go out to eat with him and I tell him my stomach's not okay right now, he instantly knows what I mean. Like, if we're out somewhere with our friends and I tell him I don't feel good and I text him, he doesn't give me shit for it.
That's good. So, who would you say your support system in general has been overall through, all of these trials and tribulations? Do you have someone that you would like to give a shout out to or a thank you to? It may be him or anybody else, it doesn't matter, or a few people. If you would like to thank your support system, if they were listening, what would you say to them and who would they be?
God, I want to thank my surgeon, my gastric surgeon, for placing my gastric stimulator. I want to thank my specialist that moved to Arizona, Dr. Hasler. Shout out. You're amazing. You've done a lot for me. My boyfriend, especially, God, I love him so much. He's helped me a great deal. My dad, God, he doesn't understand what I deal with, but he tries and he's there for me. I don't have many people there for me, but the people I do have are priceless.
I agree with that. Sometimes it's not about numbers, but it's about quality.
Oh, yeah.
So I look forward to hearing more about what's going on with you and following your journey.
Yeah, anytime you want me to come back on, I'm more than willing.
I would love that. And we have a support group on Facebook you should join. And we have a support group on Relevnt. And in Relevnt, it's something new that I've been working with. But I'm really loving that app because we can actually go live like this and talk over there. And several other people from the group can hop on and we can have group discussions or, it's kind of really cool over there. It's a new vibe that I just started over there. There's not that many people yet. But as I continue to get my followers from Facebook over there and we grow, it will grow. And we've been doing things. There's different live streams. Shut up, Whuppy. My dog. There's different live streams that you can listen to because every time we do a stream, there's an option to listen and look at them. There's like a group chat on there. There's lots of good things on the Relevnt support group. So I'm really trying to make that my new home over there. Facebook is awesome and all, but lately I'm in the cannabis community pretty high over there with a lot of different things going on. And with Facebook's new regulations, they've been deleting some of my groups, and I'm still in Facebook jail for another 2 days, I think, again. But I definitely think I'm going to lose my actual Facebook page because there's years worth of posts from my, that I have. And now that these new regulations are going through my stuff with like a fine comb, and
That's just ridiculous.
I don't think I'm going to pass standards.
That's just unreal. Facebook's becoming like a child book.
I've been there for 12 years. I have my children were raised on Facebook with the photos, literally, from, and I don't know, like, if I lose my Facebook, I'm definitely going to be heartbroken. But I've already found my new home at Relevnt, so I
download all those pictures onto a drive.
I don't know if you've seen my Facebook, but I'm a photo fanatic. I've got at least 1 million photos. Like, at least 100,000. Like, I got 12 years of crazy posting photos and videos of every day of everything I've ever done.
Right.
I thought about stealing the content, but every time I look at it, I'm like, that's just a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I have a lot of pictures on my camera roll that I need to go through. And
imagine 12 years worth of camera rolls on one. That's what Facebook holds for me. It's like my ultimate backup. So, if they steal my page from me, I will be forever sad. But I can just make a new page, I think. Who knows? I already have 2 pages now, and they, found out that the other one is me. And when I went to Facebook jail on the one, they put both of my accounts in jail. And I'm like, well, dude, the other page didn't even do anything wrong yet. They're like, no, Mark Zuckerberg, he's on it. But anyways, I look forward to doing another one with you, and I thank you for coming on tonight. And I definitely want you to join some live sessions over there with me on Relevnt. So until then, I will talk to you.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Enjoy your evening.
Have a great night.
You too, hon. Okay, bye-bye, everyone. Thank you for joining. Sprinkle some love with a cause.
Thank you.
You're welcome.